everybody. Welcome to another Level Up Next. My name is Emily Shenfield. I'm a developer educator here at Twilio. And Level Up Next is where we dive into upcoming events in our ongoing educational live series. Level Ups are here to help you power up how you build with Twilio. So we dive into product features and concepts and talk about best practices and gotchas for keeping up to date with your Twilio apps. The next event we're talking about today is next week, Level Up with Verify, migrating from programmable messaging. So mark your calendars for Valentine's Day. In fact, February 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Come spend a little time on Valentine's Day with us. We'd love to see you there. You can register to join us and learn how to migrate from SMS one-time passcodes to using the purpose-built Twilio Verify. So scan the QR code you see on the screen, or you can visit the link in the description to register. And today, think of what you're currently tuned into as kind of a sneak peek for what's coming next, designed to pique your interest, we'll say. This is Level Up Next, which is kind of, you get it. It's like a portmanteau. It's a level up and it's an up next. So it's a glimpse of what's in store for next week. And we're so glad that you're here with us. And I have the exciting job today of talking to our presenter for next week, Kelley Robinson. Kelley is a developer evangelist on the team who supports all things user identification and authentication. You might have caught her last year at Signal at the developer keynote. Welcome, Kelley. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Emily. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, we'll talk through some of your background and a few things about what to look forward to for next week. But before we dive into all of that, in honor of Valentine's Day, my favorite part of Valentine's Day, I'm curious, what's your favorite type of candy?
I feel like for Valentine's Day, the thing I always think about is those like chocolates that you get sometimes. I grew up in Michigan, which is known for cherries. And so if you can give me like one of those chocolate covered cherry cordial type things, I love those.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's like there's like a juicy center. That's the one I'm
Yeah.
talking.
You eat one and it's like enough sugar to last you for a week, but they're so
Yep.
tasty.
So good. Yeah, for me, I have a total sweet tooth. So it's kind of hard to choose, but I really like something that's like chocolate with a little nougat and like maybe some
Oh.
nuts in the mix there. So like, I mean, it's boring, but like maybe a Snickers bar,
Oh, no, that's not boring. It's a classic
So
for a
good.
reason.
Exactly. Okay, good. Well, if you want to send candy to us, address it to Twilly. I'm just kidding. But,
You might be kidding. I'm not.
But so before we get into next week, like I'm curious to hear, Kelley, a little bit about your background. How did you kind of end up where you are now as a developer evangelist? And maybe how did you get kind of interested in development more broadly?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like a lot of people that end up in developer relations, I think it was a little bit of a winding path, but I was one of those people that was really into Excel spreadsheets for everything. I mean, still am. Who am I kidding? Excel is, or Google Sheets, or whatever you want to call it, is some of the best software out there. Airtable, big fan of that now. And all the automations you can build. But I went to school for business, worked in finance, and then in the early days of the developer boot camps, so this was like actually well over 10 years ago at this point, I did a boot camp, learned some Python, started as a developer at a startup in San Francisco, did that for several years, and then started speaking at conferences. I was big into writing Scala at the time, and so I was going to a lot of Scala conferences. So shout out to any Scala engineers that might be out there. It's been a minute since I've done anything with that language, but when the opportunity at Twilio came up, they were like, hey, you could do some of this community building, conference speaking, developer relations, product feedback, all these things that I enjoyed, and we will pay you for this instead of doing it in your spare time. And so I jumped on that opportunity. That was over 6 years ago now, and I've been happy at Twilio ever since. I joined at the time where it was pretty soon after Twilio had acquired Authy, which was Twilio's first ever acquisition. And so we were trying to figure out how to bring the Authy APIs over to developers. And that has, what was started in the Authy acquisition is what is now the Verify API, what has been built out of the Lookup API. And there's a lot of stuff that we've done in the last 6 years. And it's been really cool to be a part of that.
That's so cool. You've seen every evolution of from the
Yeah.
acquisition through to the current incarnation of user identity and authentication, which is awesome. And so, as you can all see, we have a requisite expert here, the right person for the job. Thinking about the kind of landscape of tech today, is there anything that you've seen recently that you're kind of excited about? Maybe like a new API or new hardware or a new device?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things that come to mind for this are, one, I'm really excited about passkeys. And passkeys is this like new technology standard that's built on top of FIDO2 and WebAuthn. And if these are acronyms that mean nothing to you, that's okay. It's something that we hope to offer. That we're currently building an offering and testing out an offering for on the Verify API. And it's a passwordless authentication solution that's going to be a really good way for users to not have to type passwords in everywhere, but have a really secure option for authenticating to a variety of consumer applications. And because it's an open standard, I think there's a lot of promise there in terms of making it accessible to users. I think the big value add that passkeys has on top of something like a FIDO2 key or WebAuthn is that it's built into different providers for redundancy, and so you'll get backups and account recovery kind of built into whether that's like your password manager or your browser or like your operating system. So Apple or Microsoft or Google or 1Password, these or it could be Twilio, are providing your key storage so that you have the access to these authentication tokens across devices. And that was something that FIDO lacked and is a big hurdle for getting wide user adoption. So I think that implementing passkeys is something that I'm excited to see how Twilio does that, how the industry does that. I think this is going to be a big move forward towards better security and better usability for everyone. So I think that's a big thing that I'm excited about right now. And then I think the other thing that, I mean, just in terms of like being a developer and being someone that like develops in a lot of different languages, like I was writing Ruby recently and I don't know Ruby super well, but what is great at helping me write Ruby is GitHub Copilot. So I'm a big fan of that as somebody that like wants to like write tests but doesn't want to spend all of my time writing tests. I love the ways that AI is making my life easier.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree 100%. I found both the Copilot and like code support from generative AI has been really, really like game changing. It's wild to just,
Yeah.
I used to have to go look up like how to write a node server every time I, like wanted to start a file. And now it's just like, do this for me, please. So it's so nice. I've also started using a lot of ChatGPT in my day-to-day life, like for just kind of brainstorming. It's a really useful like wall to bounce things off of, I'll say.
Yeah, a good friend of mine was telling me like the best way to write like a personal bio, and this was like years ago. She was like, you know what you do is you have your friend like brain dump for 2 minutes your bio, and then you edit it from there, and it's so much easier to then like write a personal bio, right? And that's like what ChatGPT can do. It's like
Totally.
brain dump something for you, and then you have a starting point.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm gonna have to take that tip for
Yeah.
rewriting my own personal bio. And I'm to
Also,
your point
also
about
happy to be the brain dump.
that's nice. It is nice to connect with real humans every now and then too.
Yeah.
So I might take you up on that. On the passkeys front, that's so interesting and cool to see that. Like, I mean, I guess innovation always has to happen in the realm of security because it's always moving. But it's neat to see that like modern standards are still kind of being developed and updated, and that balance, which I'm sure we'll talk about next week, of like usability and security and how you kind of walk that fine line.
Absolutely.
On that note, can you give us the sort of quick pitch? I'm sure everybody watching this already knows this, but why, in your mind, is sort of the broad category of user identification, authentication, and kind of these security methods? Why is it important? Why should people care?
I mean, I think it's one of those things that I would actually argue that the average person shouldn't care about this, and that it's the companies that need to make it easy for users to uh, get access to what they care about and not have that access go to anybody that shouldn't have it, right? And so I think it's our job as developers to make that as easy for the humans on the other end as possible. And that's where something like, passkeys is going to make that easier, because if done correctly, users won't even know what's happening. And I think this is one of the things that, like, this is why SMS as like a one-time passcode and OTP delivery system has been so pervasive, is because it's easy for people to use. And so despite, like some of the security posture that people talk about with it, it's so easy to implement and so easy to onboard people with, that it ends up being like a really good method for people to use and offer their customers, because it's something that is going to be better than nothing. It's going to be better than just a password. And it's something that is going to have that usability aspect that actually makes the security better in the end. Because if no one uses your, high security system, then it's not really offering anything to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Very real. On that note, I'm trialing this question out with various level up presenters, so bear with me. But, at Twilio, we talk a lot about communication channels and communicating with your customers or users on their preferred channel and the place that they are. So I'm curious, Kelley, what's your preferred channel as a user? Where do you like to receive messages from businesses?
I mean, like any good security professional, I'm going to answer with "it depends." And so I think if it's something that I don't need to action right away, but I need to like have reference to, email. I'm a big fan of email for like filing for later, being like, okay, I need to get to this. I use my email inbox as kind of like a to-do list, so that's really good. If it's something that's just like a passing notification, I really do appreciate text messages for that. I've never gotten into like WhatsApp. I have a few international friends who I use like WhatsApp or Signal to talk with, but it's never been a big form of communication for me. I think here in the US we're definitely biased towards SMS still, but yeah, it's usually email or WhatsApp or SMS.
That's good. I think, yeah, that's also a good Twillion answer. It does depend. Um, I agree with you, though. I think I've really gotten into using my email as kind of like a task list. And so I
Right.
try to maintain inbox zero, which does not always happen. But
It's more like inbox 7 at all times.
yeah, exactly. Rough, a few little to-dos. And then like one folder full of just like junk that I can't unsubscribe from all of it. Awesome. Well, thank you. We'll continue. We'll see if I'll keep track of how many Twillions say it depends. That's a good.
I can't be the
Looking.
first.
No, certainly. Looking forward to next week. Again, we're here talking about our level up coming up next week, where we'll talk about migrating away from SMS for one-time passcodes to using the purpose-built Twilio Verify API. Why should folks tune in next week, and who should be there, and what will we learn? You want to give us
Yeah.
a quick summary?
So I think this is all about customers who have an OTP solution already. You're using Twilio programmable SMS or maybe another provider for that, and why you might want to look at, still delivering SMS one-time passcodes to your customers, but using, like you said, the purpose-built Verify API for that. You're curious about like the benefits of Verify. We'll get into that, like all of the neat features that it gives. You really like deleting code. If that's something that you like to do, Verify is a great tool that's going to enable you to do that. I'll give a live demo where we get to delete code, which is, I love doing that. And so we'll show you all of the things that you don't have to think about if you use Verify, and like the things that you gain basically for free there. And speaking of free, we'll talk about pricing and how this might actually save you money. I think that's a big reason we see a lot of people doing this migration. And then I think the big one is if you want to be able to ask us any questions, we're going to have some time for Q&A at the end. If you're curious about this and want to have time to ask me or Emily or anyone on the team some questions about this, we'll make sure that we get those answered either live or follow up with you.
Absolutely. And thank you for calling that out too. That's a big benefit of Level Ups overall. So keep up with our ongoing program. Register for the next one so you can come ask us questions. You can scan that QR code or visit the link in the description to register for next Wednesday, February 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, if you're interested in kind of starting with Verify or getting to know it, Kelley joined us for a Level Up in the past that you can check out. We'll drop the link in chat to a past intro to Verify so that you can kind of get familiar with it, come armed with all of your questions, and come curious and ready to dig in and learn. We're super excited to see you there. Spend an hour together on Valentine's Day. Maybe we'll eat some candy. Who knows? You should bring your own, and we'll all talk about what candy we're eating. Thanks again, Kelley. It's so nice to see you as always. See you, everybody.
Good to see you. Thanks.